Morning everyone. Today I will be discussing the RSPCA Australia from an information management perspective. The issue which I am discussing today is maintaining information privacy and data management, as the RSPCA is in possession of a large amount of data, information and knowledge pertaining to individuals. It is imperative that all organisations have procedures in place regarding information privacy. An organisation may have multiple levels of information that they gather for varying reasons. The OAIC defines personal or private information as being information or an opinion about an identified individual or an individual who is reasonably identifiable, whether the information or opinion is true or not, and whether the information or opinion is recorded in a material form or not. Whether the information that is collected relates only to their employees or relates to their clients or jurisdictions, the management of private and sensitive information must be taken seriously. The RSPCA is an organisation that collects and uses information to enforce laws as well as for other less serious reasons, and therefore they must have an ironclad privacy policy and procedure in place for the protection of everyone involved. But first, some context. The RSPCA, or the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, is a large independently owned non-government community-based charity. Founded in 1871, the organisation has a long history of collecting information in relation to animal issues. They provide care and protection to domestic, native and farm animals across Australia on a state-to-state basis. The RSPCA is the main governing body in Australia relating to animal welfare, and they provide guidelines on what constitutes cruelty and neglect to all animals and regularly inspect properties and individuals when neglect or cruelty is suspected. They are the authority of what constitutes animal welfare in Australia. The RSPCA has a force of inspectors who are qualified to collect and use information to charge individuals with criminal offences relating to animal welfare issues. Of course, the inspectors cannot be in any place where cruelty or neglect is occurring in order to gather the evidence to charge the individual or group at any one time. For this reason, the RSPCA relies on community members to report instances of animal abuse to them for investigation. The RSPCA also operates a great number of rescue centres and veterinarian surgeries within Australia. These operations too require the collection and management of sensitive information. Given that the RSPCA employs 1,000 people across Australia, not including charitable volunteers, the RSPCA is responsible for the management of a massive amount of private and sensitive information. There are several ways that information is collected and used by the RSPCA, and they are all for differing reasons. Let's have a look at some of the key information collecting that the RSPCA does. Obviously, this organisation has access to internal, external, formal and informal information. According to the RSPCA's privacy policy, they collect information in the following situations: when you use their website, when you speak to a representative, and when you use a service or purchase a product or animal, and when the law requires. They also collect personal information from third parties such as government agencies and law enforcement agencies. As you can see here, their privacy policy lists a whole host of reasons as to why they need to collect your information, and some of the most sensitive items on this list, in my opinion, are bequests, public complaints, and inspectorate enforcement activities. There are also an awfully large number of people who your private information may be disclosed to if needed. Of course, largely they would be sharing information with law enforcement agencies regarding criminal cases, but there are still many people who may have access to your information. When a corporation is in possession of such a large amount of personal and sensitive information, they must be aware of the implications of owning this information in the current era. Smith et al. Identifies four dimensions of data where there may be privacy concerns in any corporation. These areas include collection errors, secondary use, and unauthorized access to personal information. As you can see here, RSPCA Australia's privacy policy was last updated in 2015. The OAIC recommends that privacy policies should be updated regularly to ensure that it reflects the current information handling practices being used by an organisation. Therefore, the information in this privacy policy may not be up to date or practice, as it has not been updated in approximately 3 years. In order for the RSPCA to avoid conflicts where personal information may be used inappropriately or avoid situations where they may be challenged by an individual, they should ensure that their privacy policy and procedures are made up to date. This protects both the organisation and the individual. In summary, the RSPCA has a massive privacy policy, and it collects and has access to a huge amounts of information pertaining to individuals, groups, and criminal offences. However, because the privacy policy has not been updated in so long, they now have the potential to fall through on their privacy protection and management. When organisations don't keep up to date with their privacy policy and procedures, the sensitive and personal information which they are responsible for becomes at risk of exploitation. guys, thanks for listening.